Ever since 2016, left-wing media has grown exponentially. As of this writing, this small nook in the internet has become a multi-million-dollar industry. Take Chapel Trap House as an example. Through Patreon alone, they make over $1 million annually. Once you take into account book sales and merch, they're making a very comfortable amount of money. And they're just one group out of many, taking in hundreds of thousands of dollars preaching about socialism. With podcasts, streaming services, books, films, if you're itching for some political content, there is no shortage of talking heads ready to give you what you want. This new left media ecosystem mirrors a similar growth in the popularity of socialism offline. Ever since Sanders' rise in 2016, socialism has been on a PR rampage, and all kinds of groups, from the Justice Democrats to DSA, have risen to challenge corporate power in the country. You'd think that with all this success, the prominence of new left media, and the explosion in organizing and fundraising around the socialist cause, that we would have something to show for it. But 2 lost elections later, it seems like the resurgent left is back to square one. Sure, we've got a few progressive congresspeople in office, but compare the socialist movement with BLM and the differences couldn't be clearer than day. On one side, you have a highly organized group of people who have moved tens of millions of people globally in their fight for human rights. And on the socialist side, we get a lot of Twitter likes? Obviously, it's not that simple, but the explosion of the protest movement took every single non-black socialist off guard. And that's just unacceptable. How can we as a collective of people who proclaim to fight against injustice, to be on the side of the oppressed, be so completely ignorant of where the popular pulse is? Where did we fail? There is often a temptation when starting out organizing to focus on people you think may be politically left, to reach out to those people first, or even to invite them onto your organizing committee. He's in DSA, she posts guillotine memes. They wore one of those IWW General Strike t-shirts to work one day. These people are already ideologically pro-union, therefore they should be predisposed to engage in a class struggle, right? Not so fast. In almost every campaign either of us have ever been involved in, and in dozens of stories from fellow organizers, the overwhelming trend is for otherwise proud leftists to show themselves as flakes at best, or actively undermining organizing at worst. Here are just a few examples. This article, which I highly recommend, goes on to describe a series of anecdotes that most organizers will know all too well. Leftists aren't reliable organizers. Leftists will pump out social media about a general strike and call for the working class to rise up, but decline to have that same conversation with the very people they work with, which seems paradoxical, right? For many leftists, their politics are an identity. They have leftist friends, hang out in leftist spaces, consume leftist media. Their radical convictions aren't a result of a commitment to create a better world or fight for socialism. Instead, they call themselves socialists for the same reason you might wear your hair a certain way or wear certain kinds of clothes. In short, they're socialist consumers, not socialists. And this is the primary demographic of new left media. This dynamic is something that stems from the very ideology new left media espouses: democratic socialism. Democratic socialists generally believe that socialism is best won through the ballot box, and when elections are your weapon of choice, popularity is your primary goal. So they approach socialism much like they would a product on the market. They have to make it cool, give it sex appeal, make it a consumable, an identity. If we want socialism, we obviously need workers' power, unions, and all that. But most importantly, we need a damn good ad campaign. And if you believe in this style of socialism, that's perfectly fine, but you need to be aware that a movement is getting built around people with paper-thin convictions, and when they're put to the test, they will crumble. This isn't conjecture. A lot of the revolutionary energy of the 1960s revealed itself to just be an identity movement as the revolutionary left disintegrated when it dealt with the twists and turns of the 1970s and 1980s. When your movement is built on radical identity, not a conviction to fight, not action, not solidarity, it is doomed to fail. But there's more to the failure than that. And it's something I've been going on about for at least a year now. Black and brown people are some of the biggest consumers of content online, and there is a rich network of media by and for people of color out there. And yet New Left media remains overwhelmingly white. It's produced by white people and it is made for white people. I'm not going to explain how internet segregation works. You can watch my original video for that, but the problem isn't that the people behind the mic and camera are white. It's that it's a white space that produces and reproduces a white orientation towards politics. And it's this focus on white people as the primary audience that reinforces the radical identity problem we have going on. The heart of the working class movement lies within the most oppressed, not just black, brown, and indigenous people, but the unhoused, the incarcerated, immigrants. That's where the energy to truly transform society lies. And like we've seen in the recent protest movement, it's these groups that will be the most dedicated to the fight. Black Americans remain the most successful people in the USA to wage people's rebellions. And it's them we should be talking to and with. Because it's a lot harder to fall into the pitfalls of socialism as an identity when you've got real skin in the game. By being white products with a white middle class focus, they're ultimately self-serving, contributing to the working class nothing more than, say, a movie or a video game, entertainment that makes you feel like you're doing something, while actually you're doing nothing except sequestering yourself further into an obscure subculture no one knows or cares about. I can't be too hard on the New Left media scene. I mean, I do make videos online, and as much as I dislike the mediocre personality-driven content, I genuinely enjoy podcasts like Citations Needed and Revolutionary Left Radio. I think certain projects like Rev Left Radio are an incredible asset to the cause. But the difference between something like Rev Left and a channel like Counterpoints is that Rev Left is a socialist project with the stated goal of spreading radical ideas. And it's run by an organizer that does all kinds of great work in real life. Meanwhile, Counterpoints is a self-indulgent intellectual project that's been pursued, like most of these other projects, as a means of a career, not to serve any overarching goal. And that's an important distinction. New Left media is, ultimately, entertainment, products, commodities, and while the creators deserve to be compensated for their work, the fact that some of them are raking in millions and hundreds of thousands of dollars, while radical projects and organizations with real impacts on the world struggle to make ends meet, it doesn't sit right with me. I think we should be critical of this, critical of the fact that the New Left media bubble has nothing to show for the unprecedented levels of attention and money thrown at it. We should hold our fellow socialists to a higher standard. If you're out here making the salary of a corporate manager off the backs of real workers while talking about working class power, but your only contribution to the movement are snarky Twitter posts and a podcast, what movement are you aligned with? Because a podcast doesn't make you a socialist. A YouTube channel, academic research, none of this makes you a socialist. Being a socialist isn't an identity, it isn't a product, and it isn't found in the halls of academia. Being a socialist is about conviction. A conviction of fight for working class power, for a better world, one without hunger, without want or need, without police brutality, military oppression, without capitalism. And if you aren't doing the work to get there, you have no right to call yourself one. We have a different word for you.